Family mode.
Hello. It's great to have so many of you here tonight. Fantastic, guys. There's still people logging on, so we'll just wait a couple of minutes before kicking off. A lot of you, I'm sure, new to GoToMeeting and how it works, so I can take a little bit of time to download. I'm assuming you guys have all, well, if you're hearing me, it means you've clicked on the right panel to initialize your audio, your use mic and speakers. So I'd just love it if someone could just, or you guys, everyone actually just type me a quick message to say that you can hear me. So if you're new to GoToMeeting, there's a control panel on the top right-hand corner of your screen. So you'll see a comments box or question mark. So if you just type hello, I can hear you, all good, just let me know the audio is coming through loud and clear, will be fantastic. Thank you. Excellent, thank you. Great, so a few people have joined us. That's great, guys. Just letting you know you are on mute. I can take you off mute, so if at any stage you want to have a chat, just you can raise your hand by clicking on your hand and raising it up, and then I can have a chat, take you off mute, or just write any comments along the way, any comments, questions while we're going through. I can stop and answer questions as we go, or at the end we can all come off mute and have a chat and see where it takes us. Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Change. So shall we begin tonight's show? This is the second of 6 shows that we're doing around creating change. Last month we discussed discovering your ideal self. So that was a pretty powerful exercise in finding out your purpose and how to live your ideal and your ideal life. Now part of that is going to be dealing with fear. Because obviously we want to live our ideal and we're going to come across a few roadblocks along the way. So what we're going to focus on tonight is overcoming fear. Now I know this is pretty dear to a lot of our hearts because of the amount of people that have tuned in tonight. I think fear is something that we can all relate to. Now that's because fear is built into us. It comes right back to the fight or flight from the caveman days. So it's important to understand that fear doesn't go away. It's an inbuilt safety net. So back in the day, when you're in the caveman days, we had that fight or flight. So what happens is the adrenaline starts to kick in when we sense danger. And that just propels us into action, to running, literally fleeing for our lives in that case. So even though there's no threat of tigers, we still have built into us fight or flight. So it's something to understand that fear is always there. So it's not going to go away. But what we can change is our relationship to our fears. And how we do this, the key to this is understanding your fears. Once you become aware of what your fears truly are and how you masquerade your fears, you can then choose how to react and respond to your fears. Hence, let's talk change. Let's talk about how we can change our relationship with our fears. Fear can masquerade itself in so many ways. You may be feeling stuck in your career, in your relationships, even in your life itself. Now, you may have a lack of clarity. You may be disconnected with what's important to you or what's important in your life. This can result in procrastination, self-sabotage, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, and ultimately this can lead to a lack of self-love. So the real question to ask yourself is, if you knew you could handle whatever life had to offer, what would you attempt to do? I think for all of us the answer is anything. Anything. You'd be unstoppable. Because ultimately what holds us back from doing what we want? Fear. Whether we're aware of it or not, I think on some level we know that it's fear that's holding us back. And if you didn't have to worry, what would you do instead? You'd go for it. Where would you focus instead? And if you didn't have fear, what would you think about instead? What would you start to do? What would you stop doing? What would you explore? What would you start believing was possible? We often don't realize that we're coming from a place of fear in our lives. Fear can masquerade itself in many ways. We're all worried about whether or not we're good enough. Everything boils down to 3 fundamental fears, and this is true for everybody. The fear of not being good enough, or fear of judgment. The second fear, fear of not belonging. not being part of the tribe. Through the fear of not being loved. Now we tend to come up with excuses or reasons why things are staying stuck, why we're not creating change, why we're not moving forward. It's not the right time. I'm busy. My kids are too young. My kids need me at the moment. I have to do this, I have to do that. And we come up with excuses and reasons. So we shift responsibility away from ourselves onto something external. And the years are gone, and suddenly we're afraid to act. We don't know why we haven't acted. But now we've got the fear. And the fear's even bigger because we haven't acted. So it's important to realize, as I said, that fear is normal. It's inbuilt into us. What we need to do is feel the fear and do it anyway. The longer you think about a fear without doing anything about it, the worse it gets. Until we think the fear is reality and that courage is not within us. But if we act and notice our courage and do more actions, we start to develop a new reality. And then we start to perceive ourselves as courageous. Take action and you will find courage. Courage doesn't turn up in the mail. It doesn't turn up, just wait till I've got more confidence, wait till I've lost a bit more weight, wait till I've done some more study, wait till I know more. Understand the fear will still be there. It's in you, it's inbuilt. So don't be afraid of the fear. Understand it's there, but know the fear goes away when you act. So you only need fear for that split second when you take action. That courage turns up that split second when you do something. And then it's done. And the more you do it, the less the fear takes hold. The easier it gets. So how do we do this? How do we act? What do we do? Where do we start? The first place to start is with your language. Because our language creates our reality. Your language becomes your experience. It's how we articulate our experience. But it's also how we articulate it to others, as well as how we articulate it and how we experience ourselves. So your language becomes your experience. Conversely, your experience is determined by your language. So change your language, and you're going to change your perception of your experience. It's a little thing, but it can be incredibly, incredibly powerful. So notice what happens when you change I can't. I can't. We use I can't so many times. I hear it so many times. I'm talking to people in coaching and just in yoga and just day to day. I can't. It has such a powerful hold on us, and it's such a finite word. I can't. It's so definite. It's so finite. There's no possibilities. What about if you say I can't? What you're really saying is I won't. Just notice that difference. Just think of something you say you can't do, and change it to I won't. What if you change it to I choose not to? Just notice the difference in yourself. Notice how it feels. Start to create some possibilities. What if you start to say I should? Now I should is a word that's laden with guilt. We'll explore guilt a bit further. It's one of our fundamental fear emotions, guilt. I should. What about I could? I could, or I could not. Create a choice. It's a problem. We've all heard this one. It's an opportunity. Change how you view it. Create some possibility. I hope. I wonder. I wonder is just, it's curious. It's a question. I wonder what would happen. I hope just implies a wish, a dream, an impossibility. But I wonder starts to have possibilities. Change what if to maybe. Just start to play around with language. Create some possibilities, some choices. Create some responsibility around what you say. That's just the first place to start. And just start over the next few days, the next week, just start to notice when you use these words. So just take some substitutions, some positive substitutions. The words are going to be more empowering to you. Because those words are going to create your reality, your experience. So I'm going to start to look now at the wheel of fear. Where does fear come from? How does it create itself? And we've just talked about how it starts with your language. But then what happens? We're going to look at, this is from Rhonda Britton, and she's written a book around the wheel of fear. And it comes from her book, Fearless Living. So it's a great tool to help identify what your core fears are. So once we understand our fears, we create some awareness around our fears. And then because life is simply a choice, we can choose how to respond. You can work out ways to respond that are going to serve you and help you achieve the results you want. So you're starting to take responsibility for your actions, your life, your fear. So how do you know you're on the wheel of fear? Well, first of all, something has to happen. Something has to happen that trigger the fear that you're not good enough. So something happens, and then you want to avoid doing the thing that triggers this fear, naturally. You don't want to feel fear, so we avoid it. You run away from the thing you think will cause you to face your fear. And all this does ensure the fear comes true. Like, for example, you're afraid of going for a promotion, so you avoid it. You avoid it so you don't get the job. You don't get the job, and that simply confirms your fear that you're not good enough. And then over time, you start to generalize. You start to generalize that I wasn't good enough for that job, for that promotion. And then you start to think you're not good enough for something else. I'm not good enough for anything. So the wheel goes round. It continues. What's the consequence of this? Is you start to do less and less. You do things to numb the pain. Alcohol, food, TV, not exercising, procrastination, whatever it is for you. Then you start to feel bad because sitting on the couch, eating junk food, watching TV, not exercising. And you feel bad about all this. And all it's going to do is it reinforces the fear again, so that the cycle continues. So how do we know we're on the wheel of fear? What we're going to look at now is a summary of fear emotions. So we have to understand that all these emotions that we have, they actually come from a place of fear. So there are symptoms that tell you you're on the wheel of fear. For example, constant impatience. Do you desire for instant answers, for instant relief from the tension of not knowing, that fear of not knowing? Ongoing exhaustion. Everything is just too much effort, it's all too hard. You're racing around but nothing gets done. You're racing around avoiding, fearing, staying still, sitting with what's there. Self-righteousness. Everyone else has the problem. I'm fine, it's always somebody else. Passing blame. Self-righteousness. Or you're underappreciated. And you're constantly misunderstood and people keep taking you the wrong way. Perhaps you're paranoid that you're not getting enough support, enough love. You've numbed your feelings, you've numbed your thoughts, you deny that anything is wrong. Avoidance. Guilt and shame. We talked about guilt and shame, they're such powerful emotions, everything is your fault. We're out of control. Wasting time. Do you get easily overwhelmed and bogged down? Or do you feel singled out for getting it wrong and no one understands how hard it is for you? You believe that you're alone, you're feeling this way, and there's nothing that can be done for you. So all these emotions are fear. There's a fear driving these responses and these emotions. So starting to understand, the next time you find yourself in these situations, just take note. Remember, no judgment. There's never any judgment. No right or wrong. Just simply whatever comes up for you. Because we all have different experience, different backgrounds, different history, different life, and we have different beliefs and different values. So we're all going to place different meanings on different situations. So we're going to react differently. So what causes one person to have fear is not going to be the same for somebody else. So start to understand that it's just purely what resonates and what matters for you. So we boil these down to starting to understand what our worst fears are. So when you look at these words, and once you want to read them out, just write down, take a note of what resonates with you, what jumps out of you, what has the most emotion around it for you. Selfish, stupid, weak, incompetent, ordinary, a loser, a fake, lazy, invisible, rejected. Just note the word that you've written down. Note what has the most power or energy, emotion around it for you, and just go with your gut. Don't overthink it. Whatever comes up, doesn't matter if you think it's right or wrong, just take note. And the next thing I want you to do is use that word. We're going to use the word in a sentence. So get that word that you've just chosen, hold on to it, and apply it. If someone I love, respect, and admire was to call me, I'll be devastated. How much emotion does that have around it? You just identified one of your core fears. So when you know what you're most afraid of, you're better prepared to create a response rather than simply a knee-jerk reaction. Starting to understand awareness is 99%. You want to create a change, you've got to be aware of what you want to change. So I'd just like to get some feedback. Was that what you were expecting? Any surprises out there? Anyone kind of not expecting that to be their fear? I'd love you guys to write some comments or to share and have a chat, because I think for me I found it profoundly quite confronting. Now we can do this exercise with any aspect of your life. We've just done a generalized statement here, but you can ask yourself and apply this same question to your relationship, to your career, friends, family, any area of your life that you like, and start to notice what holds the most fear, the most power over you. And now we've identified your fear. The next step is start to understand what you do to avoid your fears. So we're going to look at another list. And again, just notice what has the most energy around it for you. These are all ways that we tend to avoid our fears. So if you find yourself doing these things, again, please, no judgment, no right or wrong, just start to take note. Are you a people pleaser? Do you isolate yourself? Do you have a habit of blaming others? Like compromise, shop? You become negative and skeptical. Maybe you sleep too much. Take it personally. Over-apologize. You be manipulative. Online for all hours. Give up. Use drugs, alcohol, food. Put yourself down. Verbally beat yourself up. Are you irresponsible? You try to hurt someone first before they hurt you. Are you a perfectionist? Over-complain? Or do you endlessly daydream? Just start to note, note what comes up for you, note what you notice that you do. Start to understand this is how you avoid your fear. So write down what you can relate to the most. So let's tie those two together. So when I want to avoid the thought that I am, if we picked first that key word, I do the following. What you've done is used your worst fear from the previous sentence and the avoidance technique listed above. So it's pretty confronting. We all masquerade our problems as a way of avoiding our worst fear about ourselves. So it's a pretty powerful exercise. It just makes you think and just start to notice. I'm going to put these slides up on the website. I'm going to email them to everyone who is here tonight. So go through and do this exercise again and again. You just start to do it for different areas of your life and start to notice what's coming up. And then what we're going to do is actually start to think, what would be possible if you're free of the fears you identified? Imagine if you're free of these fears in your relationships, your career, your finances, your health and well-being, your social life. What would come up? You'd do anything. You'd be unstoppable. It's incredibly powerful and empowering to think about things in this way. You know, so now you just busted some fears wide apart. You know, once you become aware of what you truly fear and what your fears truly are and how you masquerade your fears, you can choose how you react and how you respond to your fears. What will you do instead? How will you react? Now imagine how that would impact every area of your life as identified in the wheel of fear above. So how do you include these new behaviors in your everyday life? Start to journal your progress and see what you notice, what is starting to change for you. Now you'll experience results within days if you do this with conscious awareness. Aware of how you're reacting. You find yourself running away, procrastinating, any of these avoidance techniques, just go, oh, stop, hang on. You know, what am I afraid of? What am I running from? What's scaring me right now? But also understand that fear is perfectly normal. It's inbuilt into us. But we need to feel the fear and do it anyway. Take action and you will find courage. Remember, I only need to have courage that split second when we act, when we do something. And the more we act, the more we do, the less fear we feel around something. We've expanded our comfort zone. So I hope you guys have found that a fantastic exercise. But I know for me it was a huge eye-opener. It's incredibly challenging, incredibly powerful. So I'd love you guys to start asking any questions. I'd also love you guys to tune in and start sending emails and let me know how you got on and what you found as a result of doing this exercise, or what's come up for you. You know, and lastly, you know, if anyone would like to learn more about your fears and some strategies around creating change, I'd love to offer you a complimentary session. You can make an appointment on letstalkchange.co.nz or email me, letstalkchange.co.nz. Give me a call. Let's chat, let's talk, let's create some change. Bust those fears. You know, anything's possible. You'd be unstoppable. So here's to overcoming your fear. So thank you so much, guys, everyone who's tuned in tonight. I hope you got as much value out of this exercise that I did. And again, I love your feedback, so just get in touch, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you, and good night.